First at 6, the City of Austin employee has been fired after pleading guilty to attempted indecency with a child. But KXAN found out it was not the first time he'd been fired by the city, and this is not his first crime. Our Chris Sadeghi joining us live with more on the city's explanation on how it conducts background checks.
Yes, Joe Heath was fired in 2002 and then rehired in 2010 despite a long criminal history, and was allowed to keep working even after he was arrested on that attempted indecency with a child charge. Do you feel you were fairly terminated? The man with the jacket over his head is Joe Heath. He was sentenced to 5 years probation Wednesday because 2 weeks earlier he pled guilty to attempted indecency with a child by contact in Bastrop County. The prosecutor says the city of Austin followed the case with interest.
The city attorney called and wanted to know the status of the case and what was happening, what the allegations were.
KXAN learned the city became aware of the allegations 6 months after charges were filed in 2012. The city modified Heath's job at the library to ensure he would not have contact with minors. He most recently worked as a parking enforcement officer with the city's transportation department. The victim's father, whom we won't name, was surprised.
To find out that he was still employed with the city of Austin is really disappointing.
A further check into Heath's criminal history found multiple assault charges, even money laundering. We also found this termination notice from 2002 when Heath was fired from a previous job with the city water utility due to absenteeism and misuse of city property. But the city rehired him in 2010 anyway because city policy did not require a background check.
They need to redo that policy. You know, guys like that are real dangerous.
The city told us Heath never worked a city job that required a background check. However, his probation terms prohibit contact with anyone under 17.
The city attorney did say that these conditions would make it to where he couldn't work at the library. And I agreed and said, yes, that would be a violation of his community supervision.
After he pled guilty, the city ultimately decided to fire Heath 12 years after firing him the first time. And the city's human resources director, Mark Washington, declined an on-camera interview, but the city told us Heath was initially fired 2 months after they learned about the indecency with a child charges in 2012, but he was reinstated through the city's grievance process pending the outcome of the case. Chris Sadeghi, KXAN News.
And taking a closer look at how Joe Heath was never subject to a background check. Back in 2008, the Austin City Council passed the Ban the Box resolution and removed the felony conviction question on city job applications. At the time, council members said the inability for convicts to find employment caused problems, including high unemployment, repeat offenses, and increased crime. However, background checks are still required for positions working with money, also for jobs where employees come in contact with children, the elderly, and safety-sensitive situations. What you might not know, an estimated 70 million Americans have some sort of criminal record. Advocates say policies like the city of Austin has are needed. According to the National Employment Law Project, 67 cities and counties in 26 states and Washington, D.C. have adopted ban-the-box type policies. Austin and Travis County are the only two in Texas. We learned about this issue after a viewer tip. If you have an issue we can investigate, email us at reportit@kxan.com.